Hello, thank you so much for joining me on the mat today for this hip strength and mobility practice. This practice is great to add into your routine, especially for some athletic training or injury prevention. Everyone can benefit from adding some strength drills into their yoga practice or just into your normal routine in general. But especially when we're talking about athletes or runners, especially if you go to the gym a lot, because your groin and your hip area can get injured easily if you are not adding some mobility in there. So, get ready. I recommend having a block or two nearby to help you because we do kind of dive into these dynamic movements. I will let you know where to use them. Obviously, feel free to add them in anywhere that will help you access the movements better. So find a seat, an easy seat with the ankles crossed, take a breath or two, and get ready to settle in to this warm up. All right, beginning in our easy seat, you can set your blocks aside. We won't be needing those probably until we get to the drills. So beginning with some hip circles, grounding down through the hips, just beginning to notice your body. Finding some breath awareness. Coming into the practice here today. Waking up through the hip joint. And then coming into bound angle, pressing the soles of the feet together. You can send the ankles out more in front of you. Give yourself a little more space if you need. Taking a breath. Sitting up nice and tall. Before coming into a side stretch, reaching the left arm overhead, one breath. Exhale, release, come back to center and reach the right arm overhead. And as you come back, taking one breath of a forward fold, reaching the arms forward, then plant the hands behind the hips, squeeze through the glutes and send the hips up, balancing. Doing that one more time. Noticing if you're starting to already open up a little. Inhale. One arm reaches up. And the other. Beautiful. This time on your forward fold, maybe take an extra breath or two here. Really reach the chest towards the feet. Noticing how the groins feel today. Then balancing your bound angle, squeezing, pressing down through the outer edges of the feet as you lift the hips. Releasing the hips back down. Plant the feet really wide, coming into very controlled windshield wipers. So one knee goes down, maybe we pause in the middle, and the other knee goes down. Moving slowly with control, allowing a gentle warm up for your body. And finishing out, extend the legs, coming into a nice wide straddle. It does not matter how wide your legs are. What matters is that you flex the feet, activate through the glutes and the quads, lifting up nice and tall. See if you can twitch those muscles back there. Nice and strong. The strength will help you gain flexibility and range of motion. And now we can send the hands out in front of the chest or behind the head as you make circles again with the upper body. So this takes a lot of control from your abdominals and your lower body. So ground down into the mat as you circle your way around. Reversing the motion, taking circles the other way. Feeling the blood begin to flow as you heat the muscles up. Finding a breath, and then carefully taking your legs in, coming on to the knees. Plant the tops of the feet down, sitting up on the heels. Hands come behind towards the feet, and we find a little hip flexor stretch, a little quadricep stretch. We're going to open up through the psoas, so we want to make sure we get them a little warmed up. Maybe lifting the hips off of the heels. Find what feels good to you here. We do not have to go far. And carefully releasing back down, planting the hands, coming into tabletop. Ground down through the tops of the feet, spread the fingers wide, connect to the core, and lift the knees off for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Downward facing dog. Big breath in and out. And on your next inhale, sweep that right leg behind you, three-legged dog. Tap it out to the side and then back up. Making big circles, taking about 3 of these, just working through the hip joint. Really grounding through the fingers. Trying to make these movements as controlled as possible. Then planting the foot, make your way up to the top of the mat, preparing for a sun salutation. Inhale, halfway lift, exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise, hands reach above the head. Exhale, draw the energy down into the heart. Inhale, reach, and flat back, dive down. Out breath. Halfway lift, plant the hands, step back to a high plank pose, drop the knees for this first chaturanga. Come down. And inhale, big breath forward. Exhale, tuck the toes, come back to our downward facing dog. Sending the left leg up and finding your three-legged dog hip circles. Controlling the articulations of the hip. Getting to know how this feels in your body. See if you can notice what muscles you're activating. Coming back down and taking an optional, another sun salutation, or a vinyasa, or we can skip. Maybe finding the energy, reaching up if you're with me here in a sun salutation. On your next exhale, dive down. Halfway lift. Plant the hands, taking your version of a vinyasa, either dropping the knees or keeping them lifted. Warming up the whole body with this range of movements. Beautiful. Then lifting the left leg, coming into a low lunge, planting the right knee behind you. Making our way into these dynamic drills. So have your blocks here if you need them under the fingers like I just showed you. Then kick that back leg up. We'll do this about 5 times. So you're kicking the back heel up, squeezing it as far as you can. Then maybe tilt your pelvis back a little bit, kind of working through that range of motion. And slowing any of these movements down if you need to. We'll be doing 5 or 6 rounds of each. And when you're finished, we now tuck the back foot and come into a little twist and half camel. So sit up, square your hips, reach that right arm around, twist, and then send the left leg extended, left arm comes overhead. Beautiful. So inhale, twist, and exhale, straighten the left front leg. Try to see how fluid you can make this movement, kind of like a little dance. And if you're having trouble with the balance, you just need to take your legs a little bit further apart. Make a little bit of a wider stance. Beautiful. Now coming into a little side angle variation. Reaching overhead, kickstanding that leg back up. Come into like a gate pose prep and reach over. So your left fingertips reach down towards the mat, but all of the power is from the hips. A nice strong and steady core will help you. 5 of these. And when you've done your 5th, we turn around and we take the other side. Optional vinyasa, or we just meet in downward facing dog. Take the right leg in and find your low lunge. When you're ready, kick that back leg up towards the booty and down. Matching movement to breath here, you can get into your own state of flow. And then tucking the back toes, lifting up nice and tall, square hips, and lunge and twist. Beautiful half camel. And you see here, I need to correct my stance. Wider legs. No judgment. It's all about finding what works for you and what feels good. Taking 5 of these as well, in your own time. All right. And then kickstand that leg behind you, coming into our little side angle flow, reaching that left arm overhead. Coming back up. You're really using your hip strength here. Your groins, your psoas, your glutes. Beautiful. And turning back to face the front of the mat, we meet in a nice wide-legged child pose for our next set of drills. Big toes together, knees wide, reach the hands out, and then press through the hands, coming into a little frog cobra. So we send the pelvis down and the feet come up. Squeeze, lift the chest, exhale, wide child. 5 of these as well. So inhale to lift the chest, exhale, send the hips back. Sinking breath to movement, enjoying the feeling of moving your body. And meeting next in a big Malasana yogi squat. Perhaps turning to the long edge of the mat. Find your footing here. We'll be taking 6 rounds of these, dropping one knee down and then the other, and then straightening the legs a forward fold. So you're really hinging from the hips, trying not to use your arms. If you need to for a little balance or stability, that's okay, but try not to use your arm muscles. It's all about the lower body today. Maybe alternating which knee you do first, every other side. That's why we have 6 of these. Remembering to breathe. Come back to the feeling of the breath in the body. And when you're finished, we next go to a wide-legged forward fold. So inhale, raise the arms, and then tap the right opposite ankle. So left arm to right ankle, and that's one round. Squeezing through the quads, the glutes, really grounding down through the feet. A nice tall spine, finding a beautiful twist. And when you've finished your last round, we now come into a goddess pose. So turn your toes to the corner of the mat, hands come to the knees. We take one shoulder in, the other, lift the hands up, straighten, and back down into goddess. That's one round. We take 6. So shoulder, shoulder, lift the hands, and squeeze and stand. It's like a dance. Shoulder, shoulder, lift the hands, squeeze and stand. And these are our last set of drills here today before we enter into our cool down portion. So make sure you finish strong. Use the last of your strength, of your energy reserve here. And then we head down into pigeon pose. So bending your left knee, extending the right behind, settling in, stretching out through the front of the right hip flexor. Take a little drink here if you need to. It's about 110 degrees out here in this Florida heat. Notice how your breath is doing. Notice how your body feels, where your energy level is at. Not forcing your breath to calm down in any way, just noticing it. And then bending that back knee, coming into deer pose. So we really want to get the front of the hip flexor, so we press the pelvis kind of at an angle towards that front knee as you twist gently. So really thinking of sending the hips forward and opening. Visualize the expansion. Beautiful. And then we come to the other side. Pigeon pose with your right knee bent. Find a few breaths of awareness as I try to help this bug off my mat and do no harm to him. He didn't want my help, so that's okay. Lifting up. Big breath in, fill the lungs, and let it go. Quieting the mind with the breath. Coming into this present moment. There is no yesterday, there is no tomorrow, there is only right now. And making your way carefully into your version of deer pose. Remembering that it's all about the focus on the pelvis here. But finding what feels good, we can always place a block underneath the hips to make this more accessible. This one is very anatomically tricky in some people. Find your last big breath. And then carefully swing that back leg around, extending both legs, sitting up in a nice staff pose. Take a big breath in and out, sending energy out through the feet. They are flexed. Beautiful. Finding a few more breaths here before we work through the lower back. Perhaps pointing the feet, noticing how that changes the stretch. We get a little bit of the front of the ankle. Maybe it reaches a different part of your calves. Then flex the feet back up, draw the right knee in, give yourself a little hug, and exhale, cross it over. Find a big twist. Taking just 2 or 3 breaths, allowing yourself to naturally cool down, wringing out. Coming back to center, uncrossing, and taking the other side. Left knee comes in, and exhale, cross. Inhale, lift up, and exhale, twist. Maybe gazing over your shoulder. Coming back to center, extending both of your legs, planting the feet, coming on to the back. We prepare for bridge pose. Feet are hip distance apart, arms are lying by the sides, palms down, and we send the hips up, really squeezing. So we can stay here, or we have an option to pick up the left leg, extend, bend the knee, cross it over so your ankle is on top of the right knee. Sending the hips up, hitting the glute. If this is not accessible to you, we can come into reverse pigeon, like I'm about to show you, and thread the arms under the right leg, pulling them into the chest. So take what you need here. You can also place a block under your hips. And on your next breath, release that left foot down. Prepare for the right. So find whatever variation suits your needs. This little bridge crossover, reverse pigeon, and know that this is your final position here today. And strong. And release your right leg. Let the hips fall down to the mat. Hug the knees into the chest. Maybe find a little rock side to side. Send yourself some love. You did amazing. Give yourself a little mental pat on the back. And you can stay here, or if you'd like one extra little stretch, we can open up into happy baby, letting gravity pull your feet down as you reach for the ankle, the heel, the big toe. And preparing for our last minute of mindfulness, we can rock up, crossing the feet at the ankles, and meet back in a child pose. Extending the arms out long. Take what you need. Maybe steeple the fingers. Releasing any tension or tightness you may feel in this moment. Coming back to the breath. Allowing yourself to surrender. Perhaps you sweep your arms by your sides and reach back for your feet. Getting a little bit closer to the earth. Grounding down a little bit more. This is your practice, your last few breaths. Breathe in and out. And this is where we end today. I thank you so much for joining me in this practice, for allowing me to guide you here. And I look forward to the next time we meet.